What's up, crew, and welcome back to the Keegan and Company podcast. For those who are new to the show, my name is Keegan Hipgrave. And guys, if you haven't already, could I just get you to hit that little subscribe button on whatever platform you listen to this podcast on, whether it's Apple, YouTube, Spotify. It's a really great way for us to grow this podcast, grow this platform, and just have some incredible conversations like I did today. Today in this episode, we spoke to one of just the all-time great men, Matt Formston. Resume speaks for himself. He was classified as blind at the age of 5 and has just navigated and thrived through life. Paralympian, world record holder, big wave surfer, keynote speaker, author, executive at Optus, which is obviously an incredible, huge company. He's just done all the things and has not been limited by any disability or anything in life, and he's actually gone on to thrive not only in the disability sector but in the real world, which is so inspiring. In this episode, we talked about trust. We talked about not setting small goals and having big dreams and having the capacity to be able to get to the next level. We talked about leadership, overcoming fears, all the little things. I honestly just feel so inspired, and I feel so grateful to have someone like that, or sit down with someone like that, and it makes me want to be a better person at the end of the day. He talked about a really dark time of his life, and at the end of the day, it just comes back to being a good person and what's the type of person that you want to be, and the type of partner that you attract. Anyway, I'm rambling. Enjoy the episode, crew. It was awesome. Matty Formston, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Keegan, thanks for having me.
Mate, we had a beautiful little surf out of Corunga. I'm happy to have you on the Goldie. How you feeling?
Yeah, mate, love being on the Goldie. It's probably the best crowd I've been out in the water with, to be honest. Maybe not the best waves, but yeah.
It was interesting because we obviously had a surf at the alley, and I was thinking before leading into it, I was like, I'm gonna have to be your spotter here, because I've seen you, we had Harry, who's your usual spotter, and we had a really great chat in the lead up before going out about all the little words on what to do, what not to do. Mate, how'd you think I went?
Oh, you went pretty good, mate.
To
be honest, mate, I use spotters all over the world, different people.
Yeah.
Harry's obviously my main guy that I use in comps and big waves and stuff, but yeah, mate, you did really good. And it's communication, right, and it's about clarity. And trust at the end of the day, and I think you for day one, it was pretty good.
Because to be honest, man, I was a little bit nervous, bro. I was nervous to probably more so just to say the wrong thing. I was nervous. I was nervous that I was going to say the wrong thing and put you in a bad spot. Not that it was big or anything. You've surfed the most gnarliest waves in the world.
Yeah.
I just thought I was going to do the wrong thing.
Get it wrong, yeah. Well, I mean, I've surfed with some of the best surfers in the world, and they all say they get nervous. Parko, nervous.
Really?
Everyone nervous. Yeah, everyone just it's responsibility, right? You're taking someone that's got, so they're vulnerable in some capacity. So you're taking them into a potentially, dangerous situation. So that's a natural thing.
Well, well, you're talking about Mick calling you onto that bomb. Last time you were out surfing snapper, yeah?
That was at D-Bar. It was a while ago, but yeah, that was an interesting moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of look at that as kind of what we do in normal community, right? I know you talk about it a lot, where it's just we're kind of scared of people putting people in a disability in situations where you think they're not going to thrive, but you're a living example of you put them in there and it just works, or not works, but you can make it work.
Yeah, I think it's about put them in there at their level, right? So don't tell them what their level is. Give them that. So obviously you're not going to put a blind person in the water with me, because there's probably me and I'm the only blind person in the world that can probably handle most situations in that environment. But there's spectrums from little kids that are just right now where you can take them out in the water up to me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in the middle, so it's asking them what their level is and then maybe stretch them a bit as well.
Yeah, because you're obviously mate, it's so cool because you're living proof of all the things you can do. World record holder, Paralympian, big wave surfer, all the things. Where do you think that kind of started from? How do you get to where you are now from when you were a young kid? Because you got diagnosed pretty early age, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up with full vision, lost most of my 95% of my vision when I was 5, within 1 year. Mate, people talk a lot about it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I personally believe that it's not about the destination or the journey, it's about what you learn along the journey. That's where the gold comes from. So I've done a lot of learnings. I grew up with the world saying you can't do this, you can't go to mainstream school, you can't play sport, you can't play rugby union, you can't play ice hockey, you can't surf, you can't do all these things. And then my life experience is that I did all those things, and I did most of them to a very high level. So I don't trust the world when it says you can't do something, right? The other part to it as well is I had to always do things differently to everyone else, like playing footy. I just had to have different processes to everyone else because I can't see the ball most of the time. So my processes look different to everybody else. So I've sort of had this, excuse, I suppose, to be able to create processes that work for me. But we're all the same. Like we all have different processes. Like the way you make a coffee is probably very different to someone else that you live with, right? But we all try and do things the same way because that's how it's supposed to work. But because I'm blind, I've had to do everything differently. So it's almost like an excuse for me to just find my own path.
How did your parents go navigate? Because for me, like after hearing you speak, like you spoke to the RLPA leaders about a month ago. I got to see the premiere of Blind Seed, which is on Netflix at the moment, which is very cool.
Yeah.
So I've heard you speak and I've watched a lot of your stuff, and a lot of it was around like your parents just not wrapping you in cotton wool. Hey,
Yeah,
so it was sort of just like let you go, right?
Mate, when I was I grew up in Narrabeen, on Narrabeen Lake. So our backyard was the lake. When I was 10 years old, my dad bought me a motorboat. His blind son.
Yeah.
With an open propeller.
Yeah.
And it was this little 2-horse motor, and I'd have to like wrap, didn't recoil. I'd have to like wrap the string around the top of this old motor and start it. And he taught me how to like use it and how to clean the spark plugs and just do everything, like everything. We built a house together when I was a teenager, and I used drop saws and power tools, and everything had to be done differently to someone who was sighted, but he just took the time, and we found a way together to do things.
How do you use a drop saw? that's like for me when you say, I use power tools or use a drop saw. Yeah. How does that work?
So did I not do that demonstration at the RLPA?
Not the demonstration. You talked us through it.
Okay.
But
So I'm cutting a piece of timber, like let's say a noggin that's going to go in a wall.
Yeah.
I'm not able to use a tape measure. So normally you would walk up, measure it, take it back to the piece of timber, draw a line and cut it. Like that part for me is a different process. So that process for me looks like taking the actual piece of wood to where it is, and then putting the piece of wood in, and then putting my finger against where the cut is. Then I take hold that finger and don't move it, lock it on, put it into the drop saw, slide the blade down until it's like the blade snug against my finger, because that's going to be the perfect cut, and then cut the piece of wood. What I never do in my process to remove the risk is I never put my finger near the motor trigger. Yeah. So I never spin the blade. So I've got a process to make sure that whenever the way I use, I suppose, the choreography of my hands is that I'm sliding the trigger down without my finger anywhere near I release the thing to pull it down, but then my hand's never near it, and I actually use opposite hands. So I cross my hands over to do the measuring, and then that makes me put my other hand down to lock it down, so then I can remove my measuring finger and put that up onto the motor and cut the piece of timber.
Gotcha.
So it actually removes all the risk. There's obviously still a risk that if I'm not 100% focused on what I'm doing, it's going to I'm break my process, and then there's a lot of risk. But it's the same as so Dad brought me up in this whole, Dad was a sales guy, he's a marketing executive. He was like, his whole world was getting told no all the time. Like in sales, that's what you're doing. It's just no, and no is just an opportunity to qualify more information on, to continue the conversation. Yeah. But it was also, he's always like, you just got to find a way. Like there's always a way to get to something. You just got to find a way. And I think the work ethic part to it as well. Like I talk about the boat. I remember playing footy in the front yard. I was 10 years old. At the time, my brother was playing first grade for Ringa Rats rugby. And so all the boys from the team came home after a big game, and they've all had a few beers, wherever they're mucking around in our front. We had a massive front yard, and they're all passing the footy around. So I get in the mixed middle of it, right? I'm 10.
Yeah.
They end up landing on top of me. Like I'm in the middle of this pile of big humans, and it feels like my arm's broken. And anyway, I go outside, and I was taught always by my parents to take ownership. Like whatever you do, you need to own your responsibilities. So I'd taken the boat out, I'd taken the motor out of the shed, I'd taken the oars out of the shed, I'd taken whatever I'm out. I need to pull, and I'd taken the boat off the tree. We used to chain it up to a tree. So I'd had to then it's my job that I've used it to take all that stuff back to the shed and tie it back to the tree and leave it the way I found it. But I've broken my arm, right? Yeah. So I'm down there trying to pull this boat up with one arm, this little 10-year-old kid. I can't do it, and I'm saying, Dad, I can't. And he's like, mate, I don't want to hear any excuses. Just get it done. And it went on for a while, and then my mum comes out. She's like, he doesn't normally complain. I think there's something wrong. You probably need to take him to the medical centre. I took him to the medical centre. I had a broken arm, but and probably to some parents these days that might be like, oh, that's child abuse. But it's actually given me the work ethic that I have to get shit done.
Yeah.
So like I look back at that now and go, that wasn't child abuse. That was just like how good now, like to be like the best in the world, like to be a world champion cycle, world record holder in cycling. Like there's a lot of pain involved in that sport. And going through what I did as a kid and everything, I think it set me up now to be able to have that work ethic, you know, be innovative, to find solutions. And it's all that framework. But at the like for me, the foundation for all of it, for high performance, is trust.
Yeah.
So it's trusting my parents back then. When I play footy, it's trusting my team. When I'm in the corporate world, it's trusting my team, trusting our strategy. But the most important thing that I've learned through all of it is trusting myself.
Yeah.
So the world said you can't, and then I did. Like I've proven myself in the boardroom, I've proven myself in sales, I've proven myself in all these areas. So I have trust in myself that I have the capability to do whatever it takes to do whatever I'm asked to do.
When you were growing up, did you feel like you need to almost like prove to other people that you were capable of doing things? Was that even a thought process?
Absolutely, that was the whole thought process.
Yeah.
That like consumed every day. So when I was playing footy, I had to like I didn't want anyone to know that I had a disability. Like I was embarrassed about my disability. Like it was the like the dark shadow in my life that I didn't want to acknowledge. So I would get up in the morning every day and I'd do basically triathlon before school. So
Right.
I'd go run along the beach. I'd do like hundreds of push-ups every day. I just trained so hard because I knew that I had to be fitter and stronger than everyone else on the field to make up for the fact that I was going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I had to be more aggressive in my tackles. I had to be, you know, more physical. I had to be offside all the time. Like I was just there competing all the time to show them I didn't, which is ridiculous because I have a disability. So I'm not going to prove to everyone I don't have a disability because I do.
Yeah.
But my whole life. Then that transitioned into like when I got older, like I went through a really dark period of my life. Basically from when I had glandular fever when I was 16. I couldn't play footy, I couldn't play ice hockey for a whole season because the doctors said if I got tackled or I got a stick under the ribs, good chance of me dying because my spleen would rupture.
Yeah.
And by the time I came back, all those processes I used to be able to be a blind footy player and be a blind ice hockey player, these are able-bodied comps, right? This is not para sport.
No, yeah, no, it's normal. It's normal comps, right?
Yeah. But I'm just saying that for the people listening.
Yeah,
But I come back and those processes aren't working, and I go from being one of the main, like playing rep level and being one of the main on my team, being either captain or one of the the dominant players in my team, to feeling like I'm a liability.
Yeah.
And so I lost sport, and so I went into partying and really toxic behaviours, a lot of violence. Anywhere I could get anyone that wanted to say anything to me, I was like in their face, wanting to be physical.
Yeah, I remember you saying when you did the talk, like people would say like, how many fingers am I holding up to? Because I was thinking, I was like, that just seems so wild for someone to do. But obviously, like you still encountered it so much growing up, right? Would brawl.
That was mainly at school. Like I went to an all boys school, and it was just obviously my education was just like education in physical contact.
Yeah.
But that was at school, but it was when I left school that it got really bad. Like I'm talking like drinking so much alcohol that I and apologies if this is not appropriate content for your pod, but I would like wake up in a bus stop somewhere with blood all over me that's not mine. Like regain consciousness.
Yeah.
Like really, really bad. Like so like that, came out at the end of that 10-year period. And I was just lucky. There's no strategy, there's no hard work. There's I talk about hard work and strategy and all the stuff I do now.
Yeah.
But at that point in my life, there was only luck that I didn't die or end up in jail.
Do you think it's because you just didn't have an outlet, like you lost sport? Like sport was obviously your outlet to do all the incredible things, right?
Yeah.
But then you felt like you lost that.
Yeah.
And so do you think that's why you went down like the drinking and brawling and everything like that?
It was my identity.
Yeah.
Sport was my identity. My identity was I'm an amazing athlete. I'm really good at all these sports. And then I lost that because I wasn't amazing in all those sports anymore. So I transitioned to having this identity about being an amazing partier and amazing at picking up chicks and amazing at brawling and all these toxic things that, they're not sustainable. They're not really things that are healthy, and so when I got to the end of that 10-year period, what got me out of that, which is, you would have heard me say before, is the proud, like I've got a bag full of gold medals for different sports, right?
Yeah.
My proudest achievement is when I came out of that 10-year period and the analysis I did about myself, like looking in the mirror, even though I can't see myself in the mirror, but looking really hard at myself in the mirror and analysing myself, thinking about it all the time, like, is this the best version of me? When I'm having this interaction with this other human, is this the best way for me to do this? When I'm turning up to work, am I turning up the best way? Am I being professional? Like, just analysing myself and being really honest about who I am and who I want, and my identity, like that identity piece, and taking ownership of my identity. Within 2 years, I changed my identity and I took ownership of it. And then I had all these unhealthy relationships with women, with my partners. And you come out of those and you're like, oh, it was their fault, they did this, But then I started looking at it, I was like, well, actually, it's 50%, right? And it's probably more than 50% in some instances where I had bad behaviours. So fix that up and tidy that up. So within 2 years of me doing that analysis and that really honest work with myself, I met my wife, I had my first executive job, I was writing for Australia. Like, all of a sudden, it might look like everything just popped up and it was just easy in my life.
Yeah.
But I laid that foundation to be able to, do the work, but have all that, turn up in my life because I was the right person for that to be in my life and for that to be my identity.
Man, I'd love to zoom in on, like, you said you were in that sort of drinking, partying phase for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, was there, I want to say, like, because usually people say, like, what's the moment that pulled you out? Like, was there a moment that pulled you out, or was it just like, was there a reality check? Like, where I'm sort of going with this is like, how do you pull yourself out of, like, when you're in the thick of that dark time?
Look, there was definitely a few things that happened that were like, and there's no one thing, like there's just moments where, like I talk about, having other people's blood on me and all these other things, like, you're not proud of those things.
Yeah.
Like, there's no sense of pride that comes from that. Like true pride, and then, like, I suppose I was getting to a point in my life where I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. And I wanted to be in a relationship where, my wife was proud of who her husband was. And I didn't have this person in my life yet. But when I'm thinking about, like, these are the things I want in my life, is this the best version of me? And I could build that with them, but that's sort of not how it works. You need to build it first and then, join together with that person. So, that's what that was sort of, I think it was that desire to find a life partner and to be worthy, I suppose, of having someone to build a life together with.
But I think that's so important, because people always talk about, like, their most ideal partner, right? But usually you just got to, you got to attract the person that you want to be with, right? So you got to be the best version of yourself. The first few steps that you took out of it, you said, you did all these incredible things, like executive, you're cycling, you did, like, all these incredible things in a 2-year span. What was the first thing that you did that you thought made a worthwhile difference?
Just being honest with myself. It's so hard. Like, it's the hardest thing you can do. If you're not in a healthy place, it's so hard because it requires work, right? The honesty will require work, because if you're honest and you find things that you're not happy about with yourself, there will be some level of work required to change that part of your life. So it's the honesty is the first step, because once you do the honesty and you come to terms with that whatever it is that you want to change, you'll find a way to change it. You'll take the first step, and then once you take the first step, you'll sort of stumble a bit and you'll find your way. But it's the honesty that creates in business, we talk about having values as one part, and the values are the part that drives the strategy. And you need to have those values right before you can have a strategy, because it's good to have a plan, but you're not going to follow the plan unless you have the values.
And so did you dial in on your values? Did you know what your values were? Are they the same as your parents? Are they passed down to you? Like, did you write, like, all the things that you value? Like, how did you pick your values?
Yeah. So the way I did it, which is maybe not that healthy, but this is the way I did it. And I've never answered this question. It's funny because no one's ever asked me that before. But I'm hearing you and I'm thinking, what did I do? I wrote down what I wanted in a partner.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd gone through, I did a lot of market research before I met my wife.
Yeah.
We're talking, I was in my 30s, so there's decades of market research.
Yeah.
But from doing all that market research, I knew what I didn't want in a partner. So I had a list of the things that that was mainly the things I didn't want in a partner. But then you look at that list and you go, shit, one of those things is me.
Yeah,
I've got that in me. I don't want to have that. If I don't accept this in a partner, then I can't have that in me. So that was probably like having that list of like, these are the things, because I was just like, I was so frustrated with the whole process of finding someone that I could really connect with and had the same values as me and had the same family values. And so that was what drove me through that process. And it was like 11 things.
Yeah, right.
And there was a cut, like the top 3 were like sort of non-negotiables, but the rest of them were like desirables, but it was like, I really want all these things. But yeah, there was parts in it that I didn't have. And I was like, well, I need to, if I'm going to expect someone else to have those values, I need to have them too.
What were the top 3?
Can't tell you.
Can't tell me?
Yeah, well, it's probably a bit rude.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, like my top one, and this is why it's quite offensive, I suppose, because not everybody has the same opportunities. But I'd identified a pattern in women that I'd had relationships with around their parents being separated.
Yeah, okay.
And just giving up when there was anything challenging that happened in our relationship. So that was something for me that I wanted, that their parents were still together, because when I'd been with women that had their families were still connected, they had more, skin in the game and wanted to try and resolve the problem. And that's so outrageous now when I think about that, but that was my thought process.
It's interesting. It's kind of like the alcoholic dad, right? Who has 2 kids. Like one kid will go towards probably drinking, and the other one will go sober. Yeah. It's kind of like the same scenario. It's like if they were broken up, or if the parents were broken up, they might want to have the ideal family and stay together, or they might
work harder.
And it's the exact same. Because mate, I did something similar. I wrote down my 5 values, which is around like connection, hardworking, authenticity, adventure, and stuff like that. And it's funny because I look at my partner now and I'm like, fuck, is that like it's all the values that I want to have for me? Like the values weren't for her. The values were for me, for like the type of person I want to be. But then she just automatically had them, which I didn't even realize until we were a couple months in.
And you're putting them out in the world, right? So it's
put them out in the world.
Different process, but same outcome and same, I suppose. Yeah.
Do you find like when you're honest with yourself, you did all these things, did you find like good things started happening, but it was almost like a compounding effect? Because I look at what you do now and like it's incredible, right? Like surfing the most incredible waves, world record holder, Paralympian, like you're an executive at like a huge company at Optus. Did you find those things like happen naturally? Was it a compounding effect? Obviously there's hard work involved, but do you find like once you got a couple runs on the board, it did start getting easier?
Like I find it all easier. Like I talked through today, like my schedule over the next 10 days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know anyone else has a schedule like that. It's mental. But I built the capacity to do it. Yeah. So it actually is all pretty easy for me now to do all the things I do and to like manage multiple businesses, understand, the markets they work in, the challenges, the cultural issues, the different business market. Like if I think about trying to do that 10 years ago, the headspace I had back then, no way. Yeah. Like I would literally have a meltdown within a day. Things would just break everywhere. But I've built capacity to be able to manage all those things. And it's just about, growing it. So I did a lot of stuff over that 2-year period where it all just turned up. I mean, I'd obviously done pretty hard work. Like I was already in a decent job. I've always been a good athlete. Like even when I was doing that dark period, I was in the gym a lot. Like I was lifting heaps. I was still surfing a lot. So I wasn't competing, but I was still a fit person, you know what I mean? So the foundation was there, but I just needed to do that extra little bit of work to get to that high performance level. And the analysis is it. Like I'm still now all the time with my team, multiple teams that I work with. It's always like, how can we do this better? Yeah. Like in that analysis and being critical at the team, like, and they'll say like try and be a bit soft around outcomes or use different things as excuses. And they don't see it as an excuse, they just see it as a rationale. But I'm always just like, let's just go back to the data. What is the data telling us? Because we can all use emotion to try and find a way why things didn't happen for us. But if we really find a way to put metrics into things and use data, it will tell us what we're doing and how we can do it better. Yeah, mate, I love that. Even like, to be honest, even chatting to you now, like watching the premiere of your documentary, even hearing you talk, my favorite thing that I've gotten from you is like not limiting yourself to small goals and like dreaming big. And then even talking to you now about like they're having the capacity now, you probably didn't have the capacity then, because me, like I'm learning, the people who are listening now, it's just like, well, how do I get to that point? Like, how do I build the capacity? Is it a matter of like filling my plate with more things? Like, is it having a big 10 days like you're about to? Is it baby steps? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And for me personally as well, mate, because like I'll talk to my partner, my partner's like,
I don't know how you work full time, do the podcast, study, and then you try and train like you're a professional athlete where you're not anymore, you know?
But would you have been able to do that 5 years ago?
No way.
Exactly.
So when I look at when I was playing footy, I was like, if you say what I'm doing now, I'd be like, there's no way. There's not enough. Even talking to the boys now that play, they're like, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
I'm like, mate, you got nothing but time. You get every second day off, you're recovering.
Yeah.
Not all the time. I know that. But it's just like building capacity.
But it's also building capacity with your skills. So that skill you're talking about now and that muscle is time management and prioritization. Yeah. So it's all good to have time management, but if you're not prioritizing what you're doing with your time, you can fill everything up. Yeah. And it might not drive outcomes. Yeah. So if you've got really good prioritization, that's the first thing, because you need to prioritize what you're going to do, and then you manage that into your time that you have. Yeah. And when you do that, when you follow and you keep recycling that process, you'll always prioritize things and you'll keep driving outcomes. And you find ways through it. But to your point around before, like, do I just do more? Do you know what the thing is that you need to do more of, that none of us do that well?
Like slowing down?
No.
What is it?
Make more mistakes.
Yeah, okay.
Just break stuff.
Yeah.
We all need to break stuff more. Don't kill the baby. I say don't kill the baby. Like, you don't want to kill the baby, right? It doesn't matter if it gets hurt or whatever. Like with my children, it's, I definitely don't want them to get hurt, but as long as you don't kill the baby or destroy the brand or, completely erode all the revenue in the business, if you're making mistakes, it's not you don't make the same mistake again. You make that one mistake, but you learn from that mistake. So the more you make mistakes, you learn. Like, so I designed, I'm very proud that as an athlete, every sport I've played in, I've created innovations within that sport to drive that sport forward. So
give me some examples.
So in cycling, they were saying, you're saying don't sell yourself short with your goals. Yeah. We were riding a bike, so I'm riding it on a tandem bike. At the time, I had the world record. It was an able-bodied world record. For anyone old enough to know that tandems used to race in the able-bodied Olympics. Yeah. So the world record was an able-bodied record, right, on a tandem. So that we were using a steel bike, and I'm like, well, how are we riding a steel bike? Look, we're in like the late 2000, like 2015 sort of thing, 2014. Everyone else is riding carbon bikes. Why are tandems steel and all the single bikes are carbon? Oh no, you can't do that. The British tried it and they all braked and they cracked and they fractured. The tubes are too long and they can't hold it fresh. So I was like, I don't buy into that. So I started working with a company in the US called Calfee. They designed a road bike for me. They were already starting to make carbon bikes, but they were only road bikes. They weren't track bikes. And the forces we put into track bikes, like I was leg pressing 440 kilos at the time. Yeah. So you got two guys putting basically a ton of pressure through the bike.
That's insane.
In one line.
I remember you talking about the output that you were exerting for it. No,
yeah. So it's copying a ton of so much force. So anyway, then I ended up working with a company in France, and the way that we laid up, they designed a few different bikes, and we tried one and it wasn't quite right. And then because we did that, we made it out of that material, we could then go in the wind tunnel. So we're in the wind tunnel where they test cars, right? So they test the aerodynamic efficiency of cars for their performance, but also for the sound. The main reason they actually use the wind tunnels in Australia is to test the sound inside the car, because everyone wants to buy a quiet car, right? Yeah, so they push wind at it and they can hear what they put audio, the mics all in through the car to hear it. So we're going in potentially there's been a Formula One car in this tunnel, and then we're in there 2 hours later.
So you guys are actually in there as well?
We're in there. So we've got a platform, we're on the bike, and we travel at about 60 k's an hour in a pursuit. So they blow the wind at us at 60 k's an hour. And then we'd try different shape things. So we'd try different helmets, we worked out that if we just raised our shoulders to our ears like that, we could trim off, it was like 0.3 of a second over 4 k's. Right. Which is massive. That's the difference between first and third.
Gotcha.
But then we had to learn in training to ride like that, which is super uncomfortable. But over time, your body learns to hold that position, and then you get efficiencies, right? We designed this bike, and then because of that, we could change the shape of the tubes, because steel tubes are all round. So then we could change the shape of the tubes with the carbon and make it more aerodynamically efficient as well.
Gotcha.
So I love all that stuff. I geek out on tech.
You're in the weeds, hey?
Yeah. Well, with surfing, I'm like, how do we do the fins differently, and why? Why is it still a flat board? Why aren't we using golf balls are dimpled? Why are surfboards flat? Why are we not creating faster boards? I'm just asking questions of people all the time. How can we be more efficient? Everything I do. And
so that just comes back to you wanting to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I'm just always in my brain just thinking oh my God, that could be better. Like the book I did the book Surfing in the Dark. It's the first book to ever come out in Braille text and illustrations. So before that book, a blind mother and a sighted child. So the blind mother reads Braille's normally just on white paper with raised dots on it, right? Braille. Yeah. And then the sighted child has to read a different book. They're reading a book with illustrations and text on it. So they're sitting there next to each other in the lounge, reading the same thing together, but they're two different copies. We've created this book, and it's got, in the same book, they can sit there and touch and hold and feel beholding the book together, and it's got Braille on the pages with their text and illustrations, which is cool. It's an innovation, right?
Yeah.
But it's also super sad that we did that 2 years ago. Super sad that that's the first time in the world that's ever happened.
It's crazy because you would think that would already be out there.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what drives me now when I'm doing innovations. Like, that's one of the things. I'm like, well, how can I'm not a young man anymore. Like, how many things can I change on this planet before I'm too old?
Yeah.
To set the world up for success. And one of those things is, Guinness World Record for big waves. I'm going to send it as hard as I can because all these young blokes now that want to break a Guinness World Record, here you go, boys, there's your target. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm about to do this free climbing journey. I want to send it and lay the foundation to go, this is not, parasport has been in the past and it's sort of changing a bit, but it's been a bit not easy, but for someone who's like me, as a good athlete, in some sports it's been it's a bit easy. Yeah. It's different to everybody just because of the talent pool, right? You've got only a certain amount of people to beat.
Sure.
Like with you with footy, right? How many kids in Australia do you have to be better than to make it onto an NRL team? It's crazy, right? Yeah. Whereas for me, it's whatever the sports I've been in, but in cycling it was different. We had to literally have the same power as the able-bodied guys because of the level of that sport, because there's so many people in the world that do that sport. Surfing not so much yet, but it's definitely getting there. Like the boys that are coming to this comp I'm doing next week from France and Spain and Brazil, they're all going to really push me. It's awesome. I
love hearing that. And man, I love to zoom in on the curiosity bit, even you surfing big waves. Yeah. You surfed Nazaré, did the whole doco about it, which I'm keen to dive into. Yeah. Were you always curious about surfing big waves? Did you surf big waves growing up, or did that come later?
Yeah, I did. We would always go out, and I suppose for me, people say, it's probably easy for you because you can't see how big it is.
Yeah.
Even with my mates that we surf the craziest waves, we'll pull up in the car park some days and they're heavy, we're all very heavy watermen, right? Yeah. They pull on the car park and they're like, Matty, you're so lucky you can't see it right now. And then we paddle out. I've always surfed biggish waves and it was always curious. But there's also an access thing, right? Because if I've got a disability, I can't just go and drive a jet ski. I can't get myself out there. And most times, especially in Australia, ski teams are two people. Yeah. And it's a sharing element. You drive for a bit and I get a few waves, and then I'll drive and you get some waves. I can't. I'm not able to do that. Yeah. I can try, but we're probably not going to come home with a jet ski. Yeah. So that element of it, it's required some people investing that time to just be. It's a selfish tow partner relationship because I'm the only one surfing. So there's an element of building. I've always wanted to do that bigger wave, and I remember surfing. I grew up in Narrabeen. We paddled out one day, and it was pretty big, and it just got. And this is prior. This is before everyone's got 25 apps on their phone that tell them every hour what the swell's going to do and what second period and what angle it's coming from. Right. We just walked down to the beach every day, and it'd be what it'd be. We went down one day, and it was 6 foot. Pretty solid at Narrabeen. We didn't even go to the point. We just surfed mid Narrabeen. It was basically just closeouts. We're just pulling into these kegs, bigger than ceiling height. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then all of a sudden it just started getting bigger and bigger, and it was 8 foot. And the boys all caught a wave in, and I couldn't get in because no one out this. I'd never had a spotter until I started competing. Yeah, right. So I just surf by myself and just surf by feel and feel the waves and just get scraps basically. I did that for 20 years. But I'm out there and I sort of came in a bit and I heard them screaming, and then this massive wave just literally landed on my head and just drove me into the sand. And then I took another one down, and I'm 18, right? So I hadn't done any breath training. Was fit, but definitely wasn't, ready for, and we weren't even ready for this big swell. Yeah. We would have thought we were just going down on a Saturday morning for a surf with the boys. And I basically nearly drowned. I ended up on the beach, almost passed out. But then, it was getting bigger and bigger. And then the boys are like, "You're right, Matty, you'll be fine, let's go." And then we walked down to Northie to the point and paddled out, and it was 12 foot. And we just went out again.
Are the boys you said they weren't spotting, but do they kind of look after you? Mate, there's a bomb coming in here. Do they half spot you a little bit or not? No. Figure it out?
No, not at all. Not when I was growing up.
Did you like that?
That was what I wanted, because if they tried to help me, I'd be like, I haven't got a disability. I'd get pretty angry about it. No, who are you? Don't tell me what to do. I'm fine. I'm okay. Yeah. which was like that. I suppose that talks to as well around disability is like, or anything, it's just asking for help.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that changed for me as well, that into that 10-year period. I was like analysing myself going, you know what, I do have a disability. How about if I just own that as part of my identity and tell people I need some help sometimes? And that changed everything for me as well. I'm still not good at it. I'm still fiercely independent.
Yeah.
But it's changed things for me massively. Like now I wear blind surfer on my wetsuit.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do that because I didn't want to acknowledge that I had a disability, right? But then once I did that, it's made it better for me. But it's really sad. I still get now, like people paddle in a lineup. They see, like my mates see it. They paddle next to me. They see blind surfer and they have a good look at me, and they'll just paddle inside me and sit one inside me.
Yeah.
And snake waves off me.
Far out. I was gonna say, do you get more waves because people are more accommodating for you, or people just trying to snake?
No, well I get more waves from good surfers that help me.
Yeah.
But like other people are just trying to snake, and they're just like, it's my 10 minutes. I've only got 10 minutes. Got to get to work, so I'm just gonna snake off whoever I can.
Yeah, interesting. Because I think of like, for like everyday people, right? Like trying to be more accommodating. Like even today, like I was nervous going out with you today because even the walk out to the beach, right? You think I've done that walk out thousands of times and I don't second guess it, right?
Yeah.
But when we're walking out, talking to even Harry's just like, yep, there's a step here.
Yeah.
And even just like, I don't want you to hit your shin into a rock, you know what I mean? So it's like, how can we be more accommodating, not just in surfing, but just like almost in everyday life?
Well, I think it's a two-way relationship, right? I didn't give you that because Harry was there. Like if Harry wasn't there, I probably would have, as soon as you nearly walked me into that first rock, because you didn't tell me it was there, I would have been like, hey mate, you need to tell me this. You know, right?
Gotcha.
So it's up to me to give you the information of how I need help.
Yeah.
And then once I've given that information, then you can help, right?
Yeah.
It's like the person in the wheelchair that you just walk up and start pushing them somewhere. I've got so many friends in wheelchairs, and they've all got stories about someone just gets up and just starts pushing them. They're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they're just going, oh, I'm just helping you. Like, no, I don't need help. I'm fine. I'm just reading my phone. Like, can you leave me alone, please?
Yeah.
The other one that I think is really big, and I've noticed this a lot lately, and this is a really good leadership lesson, is I'm blind. People want to get me and push me from behind.
Right.
So you imagine closing your eyes and you're standing. So you're basically standing on the side of the moon. You don't know what's in front of you. But someone's telling you it's a room or there's a door. You don't know what it is, right? You're walking onto an airway bridge. So a flight host did it to me the other day. She got me home and she starts pushing me. I'm like, whoa. Can you get in front and give me your arm and your shoulder?
Yeah.
And then you walk and I'll follow you.
Yeah. Don't push me off the edge.
Yeah, don't push me because I don't know where I'm going and I'm scared and I don't like, but if you get in front of me and give me your arm, I can feel where you're going. If you go up or down a step, I can feel you going up and down. I can feel the cadence. If you're coming up to a corner, your cadence of your steps will slow down. Will get smaller, right? So you start taking smaller steps. So I can feel by the fact that you're changing your gait that there's an obstacle coming up. So I can start being more dialed into what's happening, right? And that's a great leadership lesson because I think a lot of times in business or in sport or whatever we're doing, it's like, go and do that. If you're a leader, show them how to do it, do it, demonstrate it, and then they can it makes it a safe place for them to go into.
Because I think about like what you said before about like making mistakes and taking action.
Yeah.
I imagine probably a combination of the two, like showing them first and then giving them every opportunity to go into it. And naturally you're going to make mistakes once you're in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I mean, using it as a blind analogy again, it's like if I walk into a hotel room with Harry, right? We're traveling somewhere in the world. We're in the US in California. He come in and he goes, "Hey, Matty, there's the bed on the right, the bathroom's on the right." We've done it a lot of times together. He might go, "Oh, actually, but there's a cabinet sticking out on the left hand side." That's all he's going to give me because me and him work together heaps. Yeah. So he's just giving me the obstacles, and I just walk in sweet as, right? Then there's a trust element to that for I can just walk in. He's just going to do something else. If I haven't worked with you before and you start giving me obstacles, there's not going to be a lot of trust there. So that's the point where you have to come in the room with me and take me through the room.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So and it's like that making a mistake thing. It's like if you've got someone in your team and they haven't done that at all before, then you need to show them. You need to do it yourself. Show them that you can do it. You've got the capability, and let them make mistakes. But if you know they've done that, that's the ground that they've covered before, but it's slightly different. Just send them in there and let them make mistakes because there's a comfort level and there's a trust level.
How did you go when you went over to surf Nazaré? How was the trust? Because I imagine the trust with those guys. Yeah. You're surfing 50-foot bombs. Yeah. Like, and that's insane for someone who can see, right? How did you go navigating the trust level with your team there? Did you know those boys?
Well, so the thing is, most people go to the trust around me trusting them. Well, I have to trust people, right? It's just an element of what I do. Or for me to want to do things, I sort of have to there's an element of trust. So yeah, like I worked with Dylan Longbottom a lot. I had never worked with the other 3 guys in my safety team before that week. But I worked with them through the week and we built a whole level of trust very quickly. There's another element to that trust is they are the best big wave surfers in the world, or some of them, right? That's how they make their livelihood. If they kill the blind guy, that's the end of their income.
It's a bit of pressure.
They're not re-signing their contracts, right?
Yeah.
So there's a trust element to that around me as well. Like they're trusting me that I've done the training, that I am capable of surfing those waves, that I'm not going to panic underwater and die on their watch. So the trust goes both ways. But we built the processes, and we all knew how serious what we were doing was. Like it's, as you say, it's a very 50-foot waves is a very serious situation for anyone. But if you bring a blind person into the mix, arguably one of the best blind surfers or the best blind surfer in the world. And I say that because I've won the most amount of world titles. I have world records. Like the numbers say that's who I am.
Yeah.
But still, I'm not someone who can't see. So there's a lot of other variables. But it's just like the drop saw. You manage those variables. You understand what it is. I could hold my breath for longer than all those guys. So I just like going back to when I was playing footy when I was younger, doing more training than everyone else. Doing more work. I did more breath work than all those guys, so I can hold my breath longer than all of them because things are going to go wrong. So that's my extra capacity to take care of the other variable around me, ending up in situations that they wouldn't end up in.
Mate, run me through the process that you put together for actually catching the wave. Because I remember you said when you first went out, or maybe on the earlier days, your bottom turn was like way too late, right? You were going so straight. So you end up incorporating like a whistle or a horn or something. Can you break down that for me, but also for the crew that are listening?
Yeah, so I feel the wave. So when I normally surf, so I use a cane sometimes on land. A lot of the times I don't use echolocation, which is what bats use. So I can use sound to hear like the environment and see obstacles, like with sonar basically with my ears. And so I can feel as I'm going up and down the wave. So I feel that like the gradient, and I basically say, like this is not something I do consciously. It's just like it's like my my crocodile brain. But as I'm going through I've got the top third of the wave, the middle third of the wave, and the bottom third of the wave. So as I get to each part, I'm making adjustments with my board based on what I'm feeling for what maneuver I'm going to do. In Nazaré, you're going so fast, like I'm letting go of the rope at about 65 k's an hour.
Wow, mate. So
and then I'm going down the wave and getting faster. So I'm going that fast that when I get to the bottom of the wave, it's sort of even though it's so big, it's so delayed. I was sort of making my bottom turn too late because I wasn't feeling that transition to the bottom of the wave, and it's so steep for so long that I wasn't turning early enough. So Lucas Chumbo, who was my tow driver, said, "Matty, can I blow the whistle a second time?" Because we use a whistle. So instead of like we used to use calling, so they'd say, "Yeah, Matty, go, right?" And we know from today that go and no sound very similar.
It's very similar, yeah.
Well, I ended up in a situation where I got towed into this spot. It's like very dangerous, cliffs there, the waves breaking cliffs. And I caught this wave and I pulled into it and it just lit me up. And I basically ended up on the rocks. They got recovered, the boys got me on the ski and they're like, "Why did you go that wave?" I'm like, "Why did you call me into that wave? Are you guys serious?"
Yeah.
And they're like, no, why did you go? Like, that's crazy. That wave was so dangerous. We told you not to go. And I was like, "You said go." And they said, go. And they're like, "No." He said, no.
Yeah, wow, man.
Yeah. So that's like, but you've got to put yourself, it's like the mistakes. That's a perfect example of mistakes.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in the environment. You have to make the mistakes to then build the capacity to be able to go to Nazaré. So we use the whistle instead of the talking. So Lucas blows the whistle. He said, so when he blows the whistle, I let go of the rope. Well, I pull the rope and drop down the wave. So he's decided this is the right wave for Matty. We're going to pull the trigger. So I blow and if not, he drives away from the wave. We go, even when we're just about to catch the wave, he just drives away and it tows me off the back of the wave.
Yeah, okay.
So he's gone, yep, this is a wave, blows the whistle. He's like, you're turning too late. So I'll blow the whistle a second time. And that's when you do your bottom turn. So he just rides so I'm going down here. He's riding the corner of the wave on the ski, just watching over the corner.
Yeah.
These guys are up, like their leveling of driving a wave ski.
It'd be insane,
a jet
right?
ski.
Yeah.
It's like, we would go up 30 foot of white water and he's just turning it on like that, over like that. So the bow takes all the energy out of it.
What?
So everyone else goes straight up the wave. He hits it. And then he rolls it on the side and goes diagonally up the wash. So I could be sitting on the back of the ski having a cup of coffee, mate.
No way, man. That's so insane.
Yeah, level is unbelievable. But anyway, so he goes, "I'll blow the whistle a second time." So we did that, and then they eventually said, "Well, I wasn't kicking." It was a couple of waves I nearly didn't kick out quick enough. So they said, well, blow the whistle a third time, that's when you kick out. So they basically blow the whistle the first time to let go of the rope, blow the whistle a second time, then I surf the wave, and then they blow the whistle a third time and I kick out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Does this stuff does it ever scare you?
So I don't think I have fear like other people have fear is what I've worked out, because obviously I get asked this question a lot. I've broken that many bones and had that many stitches that I don't, and I've that story about pulling the boat up with a broken arm, I'm just physically okay with pain. And I think I was also okay with death growing up. I was more fearful of being found out that I had a disability than I was of dying. So I would fight anyone, I would tackle anyone, I would do anything to show that I wasn't blind. Because in my crazy rationale as a teenager, if I can tackle you, or I can beat you, or I can do anything, I can overcome you physically, that means I haven't got a disability. So I was more fearful of you finding out that I had a disability than I was of you killing me. Which might sound completely irrational, but I'm not making that up. That's the truth. Like I was very comfortable to die because I just didn't want to be found out that I was so embarrassed about having a disability.
What about now? Is there anything?
No. Well, so now it's completely different. Now it's my kids.
Yeah.
So like when I'm doing crazy stuff, like I'm laying out the back at Nazaré, I'm happy to just say, no, you know what? I've come all this way. We're making a movie. The whole world media is going crazy about this. I'm happy just to pull the trigger and go home.
Yeah. If
I feel like it's too much and I'm going to lose and I'm going to die, still don't care about breaking bones and stuff. Like that doesn't bother me. But dying is a different thing because I don't want my children to lose their father. So that's where my risk management really goes into like 12th gear now. Am I going to if there's I go into environments where I could die. Like we all do every day. Everyone gets in a car every day.
Yeah.
That's the most dangerous thing you'll do. That's more dangerous than me surfing Nazaré for most people. But yeah, that's my thought process.
Do they know how gnarly it is what you're doing? Like, do you have conversations with them?
Yeah, look, my oldest son certainly does. Like in the movie, he says, "Just don't die."
Is that Maxie?
The fact that Maxie, the fact that he said that, and he was a lot younger then, right? So I think he was like 7 when he did that interview.
Yeah.
So there's an element of him knowing and him saying that to me, like how heavy, like your little boy saying, "Just don't die, Dad."
Yeah.
And then my mum talks about the fact that if he dies doing that, then he dies doing what he loves. So like we all know that I could die. It's part of it. But I'm comfortable with the fact that I could die because I want to push the limits. I want to set a foundation for the disability community, but I also want to showcase to people that haven't got a disability that disability doesn't mean you have to stop. You can't do things. And I also want people with disabilities to stop having excuses.
Yeah.
Just because you have a disability, it doesn't give you an excuse to be lazy. Just because you have a disability doesn't give you an excuse to be rude to somebody else. Just because you have a disability doesn't, it's not a get out of jail free card. And I think by me doing this stuff, it really showcases that you've just got to try a bit harder. But it also like, and I say this in the film, like people should just try a bit harder. Like how did I get into a representative team in both rugby league and rugby union as a kid with 5% vision?
Yeah.
Everyone else is not trying hard enough.
Yeah. And it's like we constantly undersell our potential on what we can do.
Yeah. And then as soon as we do that, then that brings in the laziness, because I talked before about when you own it, when you identify what is wrong with yourself and you do the honesty part, that then requires work. So as soon as we do the doubt and the distrust of what you're capable of, that then takes away the work that you're going to do. So you won't do the work, and then you won't build the capacity. And once you build the capacity, that sets you up to be ready to go to the next level. Like you talked about your capacity for time management and what you're doing now. You got to a certain point, and that allowed you to get to this point you're at now. And now that gives you the point to go somewhere further.
Yeah.
But unless you're building your platforms and your capacity, you can never go to where you're capable of getting to.
Yeah, I love that. It's like even all the older guys that I talk to that kind of like are where I want to be, like none of them have had a really like smooth life. Like they've been through the thick of it and they've gone through really challenging times. And it's almost like these like super challenging things like 100% make us better people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just like if you were to give someone like a cruisy life, they're not going to have the same traits. Like they're just not going to have the traits, right?
Well, people ask me at the end of a gig, like at the end of a keynote, so I've talked for an hour. One of the main questions I get is, if you could go back to when you were 5, would you choose to be blind for your life or would you choose to be sighted?
What do you say?
What do you think I say?
I reckon you go blind.
100% every
stay
day.
blind,
Yeah. Even though I went through that bullying at school, people saying how many fingers am I holding up and like punch in the back and then run away so I didn't know who it was, like horrendous stuff, like yelling stuff out at me but using their voice so I didn't know who it was, like psychologically awful things. I grew up like in a good suburb. I went to a good school. Most of my mates, they haven't done that much with their lives.
Yeah.
Mate, I've travelled the world. I've run a green and gold jersey in multiple sports. As you saw, we don't need to go through my accomplishments again, but I've done a bit of stuff because of all those challenges.
Yeah.
Because those challenges have given me perspective and built that foundation of resilience and grit. I'll talk about trust as well. I haven't told anyone this before, but I just thought about it before when you were talking about it. The level of trust at Nazaré. I think I go into an environment giving everyone trust, and you either build it with me, or as soon as it breaks, then I move on. I don't work with people if I don't trust them, right? So, but I have to give people that level of trust because if you second guess the trust, it takes so long to get to a high performance level in a partnership or in a team. Yeah. So you've got to innately give people that trust, which is a very vulnerable place to be in. So I've never told anyone this in public arena before, but I had a guy that I was riding with who basically said at an elite level, I gave him my phone to do my social media because I can't see social media, so to do a social media post. And he went through my phone, went through my bank accounts and found out how much sponsorship money I'd received that year. No way. And then a couple of hours later sent me a text message and said, I want half of that or I'm not competing with you. Shut up. I had another guy who was working for me and was putting a bunch of bills in and basically stole $30,000 off me. What? Yep. How did they get away with it? Did they get away with it? No. They get away with it because I could take. They both could have probably gone to jail for what they did. Yeah. But I've been through all that trauma in my life. Like I've been through all that negativity and all that fighting, and I don't have any time for it. I just don't have time or energy for it. So I just moved on. Obviously I'm not working with either of those people anymore. Ever. But I've just moved on. Because if I go into, there's a court case and I've got to go in to deal with that, all the negative energy, the family, the emotion that drags my wife into all that, I don't need that in my life. Yeah. But I still go into these, I change my processes slightly around to protect myself because of what those experiences. Yeah. So they're failures, right? They're mistakes because I trusted so much that I let this person have access to this phone and whatever. And I still do that now with Harry. I let Harry do my social media. If he wants to come my bank account, it's great. But I ended up paying this person. That's what I was going to see if you were comfortable talking about. You had to pay. You paid him. I paid him. Yeah. Fuck me, that burns me. I hate hearing that. Yeah, it's heavy. Taking vulnerable, I'm not a vulnerable guy, right? Yeah. I have a disability, but I don't think anyone that knows me or works with me would think that's a good idea to take me on in any environment. 100%. But this guy thought it was a good idea because he wanted some money. He was just greedy and thought that was a way for him to just take the easy road. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I've been thinking about that a little bit lately around people doing wrong by you. And for me, my first reaction, I'm sure it's a lot of other people's reactions, is revenge, anger, want to get even. Yeah. You seem obviously super calm about it now and you work through it. Yeah. And you're I'm just going to cut that person off. Is that the first thought? How do you navigate that? Oh, when I was younger, that would have just been straight to violence. It would have been a brawl, right? 100%. Yeah. But now it's not the best version of me or the best outcome for me and my family. So they're the thought process for me. It's if I'm about to take an action, is this action going to benefit me or my family or the community? And in those instances, no to all those things, right? And could it potentially... there was guys in the community that I lived in when that happened. They were we're going into that house. We're taking that jet ski. Yeah. We're destroying the house. this is not okay. And I was like, boys, it's like, all that does is start a whole stream of negativity, and I don't need that. Like, I'm trying to do cool shit. That's not going to help me do cool shit. Yeah. How are we going for time, mate? Do I need to? What
mate,
time
you're at 10 past.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. What time do you need to wrap up?
I reckon pretty soon.
We'll go 5 more minutes.
Yeah, cool.
Is that all right?
Yeah. So I wanted to tell. I've never told him that story before, but it's. I just think this was a good place to do it.
Mate, I'm glad you did, because that part of it.
It's the most fucked up story.
It's mate. Even like the like the elderly and disability space, two of the most like vulnerable pieces, right? And and exploited heavily. So I am glad you talked about it, because like talking about it on a public platform just raises the awareness even more about it, right? Even now, like you've done so much.
Yeah.
What do you think's your biggest challenge now?
Time. I'd love to do more. Like as an athlete now, you know, I'm nearly 50. My body's definitely not as good as it was when I was, you know, mid-20s. So time's a challenge. So I've got to be really specific around what are the big nuggets that I want to tick off. And that might sound like I'm a 70-year-old man, you know what I mean? But my things I want to tick off are pretty big things. They don't take 2 years. They take years to build. So it's like, what do I want to do? And I want to do those things soon, but it's also just continuing to ensure that I'm being inquisitive about what's possible for me and what's possible for the world, and not ever just accepting anything is the way it is. My son has my poor kids grow up in the house with me, and they're not allowed to use the word can't in our house.
I remember you said that in the keynote. I love that.
And so my 11-year-old, when he was 10, he's like, Dad, there is such a thing as can't. He's like, I can't fly to the moon without a spaceship. And I was like, that's bullshit. I didn't use that word, I don't swear with my kids, but I was like, mate, and I talked him through the process. I was like, actually, if you want to fly to the moon with your body without a spaceship, I honestly believe it's possible, but what will be required is for you from this day forth for the rest of your life, innovating, working hard, finding the best partners in the world, moving on, getting through those partners, and then realizing there's someone else better to work with, to innovate and find processes and technology that enable you to be able to do that. And I believe if you put everything else, if that is the biggest goal in your life for you to want to be able to do that, and you put the blinkers on and sacrifice whatever's required to sacrifice to do that, I believe that's possible.
Fuck, I love that, man. That's so sick. It's like the curiosity piece, right? Yeah. I know I mentioned like those old boys who went through like the really tough times. Like a lot of those guys are in their 50s and 60s and they're still grinding, and they've got more money than they know what to do with, right? And I was like, well, why do you keep going? Like, why don't you just retire? And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, I've still got a decade, 2-3 decades left of learning, of doing cool shit. Yeah. And I love that. And like, they're the people that I want to be around. Yeah. And even like, and to be honest, we will wrap it up, but I'm grateful to talk to you and like listen to you speak and knock around with you, because it's like, I can see you doing cool shit and all this, like what I want to do in my life for the next 10, 20, 50 years. Like, I just want to do cool stuff, you know, whether that's in the physical space, whether that's learning, psychology, like this podcast. Like, you asked me 5 years ago, there's no way I would have started a podcast, but now I get to talk to like the most incredible people. I would never even thought about that. It's just doing cool shit.
And how rewarding is that, right? You get to talk to people, and that's one of the things I get to do is talk to cool people and, learn from them. Like,
but Matty, man, I will wrap it up. Bro, thank you so much. Thanks for this afternoon. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for like giving us all the little golden nuggets, man. I really enjoyed today, bro. I think it was epic.
No, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, bro.